Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. I am Michelle Clark, DEAFCYBERCON's digital strategist. I'm happy to be your moderator today. I would like to welcome you to the DEAFCYBERCON Untapped Potential webinar and introduce you to Angela Dingle, President and CEO of Ex Nihilo. Angela Dingle is a certified in governance of enterprise information technology with 20 plus years of experience in technology, governance, cybersecurity, systems engineering, strategy, and leadership development. A proven leader and excellent communicator, she is also a fact-based problem solver. Ms. Dingle has led the successful execution of over $40 million in public and private sector engagements, to include critical infrastructure protection, asset identification, detection, and monitoring of infrastructure events, incident reporting, and enhanced event reaction capabilities. Angela has also served as a trusted advisor to agencies such as the U.S. Department of Defense, the Executive Office of the President, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Commerce, the U.S. Army of Engineers, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the U.S. Secret Service, yes, the Secret Service, so you know she's top-notch, Department of Justice, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Office of Personnel Management, and various state and local governments. Ms. Dingle is also author of the Discovering Your Girl Powers, 10 Strategies to Build Confidence, Charisma, and Credibility, founder of the Power Pact, which is a professional mastermind. She is founder of DEAFCYBERCON, an ecosystem for deaf women in cybersecurity, and the host of Cyber Savvy CEO webinar series. She holds a Master's of Science in Management Information Systems from Bowie State University in Bowie, Maryland, a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from DeVry University, and she is a certified management consultant. Without further ado, Angela, take it away.
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are proud to launch the 5-part DEAFCYBERCON webinar series designed to increase awareness of the need for diversity and accessibility for deaf women in cybersecurity. Today, you will hear about the growing national threat in the United States where there are not enough trained workers to fill cybersecurity positions. We will discuss how gender bias, misperceptions, and lack of role models have created barriers to entry for members of the deaf community, as well as ways to get engaged. Before we get started, I'd like to get a sense of how much our audience knows about the gap in cyber hiring by doing a quick survey. I'll display it on your screen momentarily. You can complete it on your phone or your computer. Please just select the option that most closely applies to you. Your response is very helpful to us as we ensure that we are increasing awareness about deaf women in cybersecurity. I'll show you our poll. And we'll leave that up for about a minute. Well, about 60% of you all have participated. We'll leave that up for another couple of seconds. Thank you. So it looks like some of you already have an understanding of the current gap in cyber hiring and the need for new cybersecurity careers. I want to start by taking a minute to acknowledge and thank our partner, Get Cities DC. They have partnered with us for this webinar series. Get Cities is led by Second News Foundation and Breakthrough Technology in partnership with Pivotal Ventures. It's an intuitively designed partnership designed to accelerate the representation and leadership of women, transgender, and non-binary people in technology through the development of inclusive technology hubs across the United States. Get Cities DC invested in this initiative to promote gender and racial equality in technology by working to increase the number and proportion of deaf women of color hired into in-demand cybersecurity roles. We would not be able to deliver this valuable information without their support and engagement. So thank you to our partner, Get Cities. So let's get started. There have been a number of recent high-profile security incidents that demonstrate that both the United States and private sector entities are increasingly facing sophisticated malicious cyber activity. Any of you who watch the news regularly would have seen the Colonial Pipeline breach, where the ransomware was nearly $5 million. You may also have been familiar with what was happening with COVID during the pandemic. The FBI reported that the number of complaints about cyber attacks to their cyber division was up to as many as 4,000 a day. Cybersecurity threats and incidents affect businesses of all sizes, small towns and cities in every corner of the country, and the pocketbooks of middle-class families. Compounding the challenge, nearly 500,000 public and private sector security jobs remain unfilled. In the DC region alone, there were over 65,000 cybersecurity job openings without enough trained workers to fill those positions in 2021. And you can see by the color coding on this heat map, the issue is occurring all across the country. This is a great way to learn more about the cybersecurity openings that are occurring across the country. And it gives you a sense of how great an issue this is with respect to cyber hiring. Senior government officials have described this slow pace of cyber hiring as a national security threat. The government is really struggling to hire cybersecurity workers at the same time that it's facing this unprecedented slate of hacking threats. Cyber criminals are actively pursuing the service providers, product and service providers that support the federal government, as well as individual federal agencies. And this dearth of cyber workers is making it harder to protect government data from being stolen by adversaries and diminishing our government's ability to help improve cybersecurity in industries that are vital to our national and economic security. There have been threats to our electrical grid, to our water sources, and other things that make day-to-day life in the United States the pleasant experience that we've had so far. It also worsens the dangers that are posed by the government's notoriously outdated technology. So if any of you have done work with or for the federal government, you know that in some instances, their movement to a newest version of technology is a much more calculated and slower pace than you will see in industry. Cybersecurity has become such a national security and economic security imperative for the Biden administration that they have prioritized and elevated cybersecurity like never before. On May 12th of 2021, President Biden issued an executive order that modernizes federal government defenses and improves the security of technology. To secure our critical infrastructure, like our electrical grid, like our food sources, our gas and utilities, this spring, the Biden administration launched a 100-day initiative to improve cybersecurity across the electric sector, with others to follow. On June 28th, the president issued a national security memorandum establishing voluntary cybersecurity goals that clearly outline expectations for owners and operators of critical infrastructure. The administration also engaged with the private sector on the importance of prioritizing cybersecurity as a central part of their efforts to maintain business continuity. If you are doing business currently with the federal government, or if you have done business with them in the past, whether that's as a small business or as a large business, you will know that cybersecurity has become a priority for businesses of all sizes. The federal government is looking to companies just like ours to shore up their cybersecurity defenses to help with this really big challenge that we're all facing. The administration has also engaged internationally. They have rallied the G7 countries to hold accountable nations who harbor ransomware criminals, because we know where they're hiding, and to update NATO cyber policies for the first time in 7 years. That's really a long time. According to the Washington Post, only 25% of government cyber workers are women. If you think about it, according to the Census Bureau, women make up 51% of the population. However, barriers to entry, like gender bias, misconceptions, and a lack of female role models, have created barriers for this underutilized pool of resources. For example, in the 20 plus years that I've worked in information technology, I can count on one hand the number of women peers that I've had the opportunity to work with. Technology has inherently been a male-dominated field within the United States, and I would venture to say that this issue exists across the world as well. If I don't have any female role models or female colleagues with which I can learn, it can impact my perception about opportunities in the industry, and it might even deter me from pursuing a career in the industry. I went to school long ago for information technology, and when I think about the other women that were in my classes for computer science, there's a very small percentage of them who still remain in the field today. Many of them pursued other careers because the ability for them to advance or to engage with other women just wasn't there. So this is a critical opportunity for us to increase awareness and create opportunities for women. When we look at the deaf community, we uncover another source of untapped potential. Of the 11.5 million deaf people in the United States, 42.9% of them are not in the labor force. Now, that doesn't mean they're unemployed. You can see that the unemployment rate for members of the deaf community is 3.8%, which is close to the 3.4% that you see with hearing people. That 42.9% in the deaf community consists of people who are either not working because they might be students in school, they might be parents or caregivers, they might be retired, or in many instances, they're not working because they have not been able to find work that is meaningful for them. So that creates a huge opportunity for a labor workforce that has not been tapped. And that 42.9% is for deaf people between the ages of 25, and 64. So certainly within working age. When we think about the wage gap, disparities between men and women are similar in deaf populations as they are in hearing populations. One of the reasons that I started my firm many years ago was because I wasn't being compensated at the same rate that my male colleagues were being compensated. And that was pretty frustrating over time. So you can see that the disparities are very similar between hearing people and deaf people, except that the wage gap for women is significantly larger when you look at deaf women. For the $50,000 or $52,000 that a man might be making, a deaf woman is only making $43,000.
And Angela, what are you doing to address this need?
Well, we're doing what we can to break down these barriers to entry for deaf women. You see, I am a believer that cybersecurity is a people problem, not just a technical one. It's a person that steals your identity. It's a person that hacks into your computer or launches a ransomware attack.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that we need real people with a variety of skills to solve this problem. So when you think about a cyber attack, what's the number one stereotype that comes to mind when you think about someone working in cybersecurity? It's that they're introverted. You've seen it before. It's a geek that's locked in a room, sitting in front of a computer, hacking away at something, or doing stealth work to track down the bad guys. He's not using verbal communication in order to do so. If you think about it, it's not like a cyber criminal or a bad guy is calling you up on the phone and saying, hey, Angela, I'm going to hack into your computer right now. They're actually doing it without using their voice. So needless to say, you don't need to be a hearing person in order to work in cybersecurity. So my team and I have created an ecosystem called DEAFCYBERCON, where deaf women can explore, identify, and excel at careers in cybersecurity. We're helping to advance their careers, provide opportunities for them to collaborate, and an opportunity for them to find connections with other people that are in the industry. It's based loosely on the DEF CON levels, on the military's DEF CON levels that really determine how ready the United States Army is to fight at any given time. And we're really looking at how ready a deaf person might be to take on a role in cybersecurity. So it also has 5 levels, and I can see that my graphic has also a column for condition that just gives you a sense of them. We've created 5 levels of career readiness, and we do this through tailored content like boot camps to teach you cybersecurity skills or to help you get prepared for cybersecurity certifications, conferences, internships, career fairs. We are working to identify mentors and provide job opportunities. We started with a cloud-based collaborative space and a mobile app where hiring managers, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, peers within the hearing and the deaf community can all come together and collaborate with one another.
Wow, this sounds so exciting. But what really made you decide to address this challenge?
Well, my sister Lisa is nearing retirement after having a successful career as a civilian at the Department of Army. She has always loved music. She's an award-winning dancer. And in the last couple of years, she and her husband have decided to join a biker club. I really think she's a rock star. My sister Loretta is retired from Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield. She recently moved back to Washington, D.C. from North Carolina. And when we were unpacking her boxes, I ran across some of her old employee performance reviews. I was really impressed by the great things that her managers had to say about her work ethic, about the quality of her work, and the accuracy with which she performed it. And I tend to think that she's a rock star as well. So while they were both born 16 years apart, They do have something in common. They're both deaf, but that makes them no less of the rock stars than I described. They both have proven that deaf women can have successful careers. I watched my sisters work hard to get where they are today, and I want to redefine the future for deaf women in cybersecurity. And I truly believe that DEAFCYBERCON will make this happen.
Those are two great stories, Angela. But this really seems like a big endeavor. How do you intend to scale in a way that allows you to actually meet the challenge?
So we created partnerships with organizations like Gallaudet University. That's one of the premier deaf universities in the country. We're having conversations with the National Technical Institute for the Deaf, which is at RIT, Get Cities DC, our partner on this webinar series, various different members of the deaf community, and others in the business community. In my own company, I've begun hiring the first cohort of deaf interns. I've committed to become a deaf-friendly business by 2023. And then my eventual goal is to increase the net job growth rate for full and part-time positions for deaf women in cybersecurity.
I certainly hope other companies follow in your footsteps, Angela. But how can one get involved with your organization?
Yeah, my number one call to action for anyone who owns a business is to help me close this gap in our national cybersecurity by creating career opportunities for deaf women in cybersecurity. The second thing that I would ask people to do is become a mentor. Deaf women need female role models and mentors to help them to prepare for and secure interviews, to know what it's like to work in the cybersecurity industry, to navigate the challenges that women face in an industry that is dominated by males. And number three, if you know a deaf woman who is looking for a job, I'd like you to make connections and introduce them to me.
Well, throughout the presentation, you've talked a lot about deaf women. Is DEAFCYBERCON open to deaf men as well?
It certainly is. While our focus has been on increasing the number of full and part-time positions for deaf women in cybersecurity, we're fully aware of the need for men to advance in careers in cybersecurity. So if you're a member of the deaf community, whether you're a male or a female, and you're interested in a career in cybersecurity, you can contact us as well. The email address is careers@exnihilamanagement.com. We'll share that on our final slide, and I'll also add that in the chat for you. You can also visit our website at www.deafcybercon.us, where you can sign our pledge and schedule an appointment to talk to us about more ways that you can get involved. For anyone that's in the deaf community, we will get you access into our online collaborative environment so you can start to see the career opportunities that are available. There are internships that are currently available, as well as information about how to navigate the industry from a career standpoint. There are standards that have been set on the framework for positions, as well as we share information about current threats and other things that are happening in cybersecurity. So we encourage and invite all members of the deaf and hearing communities to join this monthly webinar series. Consider hosting a watch party with your friends and your colleagues. It's your opportunity to hear from members of the deaf community, business owners, talent managers, and others about the work that we're doing.
But before you go, I know there's more to this. Could you share with us what's next in the webinar series?
Sure.
Thanks.
So it's a 5-part webinar series. This is the first where we just wanted to make people aware of this gap in cyber hiring. Our second webinar in the series is called Barriers to Entry. It will consist of a moderated panel of deaf and hearing women that are discussing barriers to entry for deaf women. We know that the wage gap is significantly larger for deaf women, and that they face additional barriers to finding mentors and interview preparation. But for anyone that's hearing, this is a great opportunity for you to hear from a deaf person, their perspective on what meaningful work is, on what the challenges are that they face in working in a hearing world, and ways that you can create space and inclusive environments for deaf women. The third webinar in the series is called Crucial Conversations. And this webinar is a moderated panel of hiring and talent managers discussing the frequently asked questions, things about deaf culture, any kind of myths that business owners may have heard. What are the costs associated with hiring someone that's deaf? Any form of accommodations that might need to be made, and other things that you might consider when you're hiring a deaf person for a career in cybersecurity. We think this conversation is just as important as the one on barriers to entry, because so often when I speak to business owners about this initiative, a number of questions come up. And this is a great opportunity for everyone to get together, ask those questions in a safe place, and come up with answers that will help them to create opportunities for deaf women. The fourth webinar in the series is called Making First Impressions Count. And this is really geared to helping deaf women get the resources and the tools and the techniques that they need. So I'll be looking to other women business owners and women that are in cybersecurity to come alongside DEAFCYBERCON and the women that have been identified, to partner with them to help them with their interview preparation skills, negotiating skills. As I'll tell you personally, that one of the other things that led to me starting my own company was the need to be able to negotiate for the salary that I thought was fair for the work that I was doing based on my background. And then our fifth and final webinar in the series is called Meet Your Match. And my intent is for our business owners to come alongside us and have a dedicated block of time for matchmaking, where hiring managers, thought leaders, role models, and mentors can have one-on-one conversations, meetings, and interviews with members of the deaf community.
All these sounds so exciting, and I hope everybody on here joins us for the next 4. But is there anything else before we go you'd like to share with the audience?
Sure. Well, first, let me take another survey here, because the data and the information that we're collecting through this webinar series is really critical as we try to build this ecosystem and include deaf women and members of the deaf community in addressing this national cybersecurity threat. So I'm going to display another survey for you on the screen. And if you wouldn't mind completing that, that would be really great for us. Just select the number that's appropriate based on what would apply to you. So I'll get that up and leave it there for about a minute for our participants to answer. I've got to get a couple more responses there. Perfect, thank you. So we certainly have had an increase in the understanding about this cyber hiring landscape. About 58% of you all say you understand it now. So thank you for completing that survey. Share those results so that you can see them. And I'm going to stop sharing. So we'll open it up for question and answers here in a minute, and we'll try to moderate that through the chat. But before you do that, you can stay connected with us as a community by following us on LinkedIn. You can simply add the hashtag DEAFCYBERCON to your social media posts, or you can like our DEAFCYBERCON page. And if you're not yet a member of DEAFCYBERCON, we invite you to join this great ecosystem of success, which has been designed specifically with you in mind and the resources that you need in order to be successful. So I'm going to check the chat here and see if we've got questions from our participants there. Don't see any so far, but if any of you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get them answered for you. Okay, so I see a question. Do we have statistics on how many people are currently in the cybersecurity field? We actually do not. And so this gives us a great opportunity to identify the number of deaf people that are currently participating in the workforce. For anyone that's in the deaf community currently, I'm sure you're aware that there are people who may have some form of hearing loss that don't necessarily consider themselves to be deaf or report when they do the census that they're deaf. So it may be interesting for us to figure out what that number looks like currently. As we have begun to announce DEAFCYBERCON and make this initiative more and more available on the web, I am finding that people connect with me. Like I got an invitation yesterday from a woman who said, well, I'm deaf in one ear, but she is pretty much a part of the hearing community as opposed to the deaf community. So I thank you for that question. That's certainly something that we'll have to make sure that we're capturing as we continue to work to increase career opportunities for deaf women. May I have any other questions?
Angela, I did place the link to the DEAFCYBERCON LinkedIn page. So I welcome anybody to follow us there and see upcoming information. And I'm about to put Angela's LinkedIn, and please follow her. She's has a wealth of information.
So we have a number of activities that will be happening. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing those. A number of activities that will be happening before the end of the year. This is our contact information here. Before the end of the year, it is our intent to host a DEAFCYBERCON boot camp. That will be for anyone that is interested in pursuing the Security Plus certification. It is a 1 week, 5-day boot camp. So it will be fast and furious for anyone who decides to pursue that. The intent is to have 5 days of instruction and then be able to take the Security Plus certification at the conclusion of that 5-day boot camp. Should you choose to participate in that, it would also include 1 year's access to the labs that you need to study for the boot camp, as well as access to other learning materials that you might need if you don't pass the exam the first time. That will also include 2 retakes. So I know that this community will jump in and get it done the first time, but if you find that you need to take the exam over again, there are at least 2 retakes that are available to you. All right, I don't see any other questions there. So if there are no other questions, then I'm going to thank you very much for your time. I want to again thank our sponsor and partner, Get Cities DC, for joining us for this very important initiative. I do see another comment there. Essentially says, I agree that this is a great opportunity to reach out to the deaf and let them know of the opportunities. I also see an additional question. How do you plan on maintaining a pipeline of resources for employers to choose from? That's a really great question. We understand that hiring someone from the deaf community may be very new for members of the hearing community. As I talk to business owners and even talk to people that work in the industry with me, I was speaking to someone about perhaps becoming a mentor, they essentially said to me, I've never even met a person who's deaf. So we know that it's going to be important for us to create resources that are available for employers as they start this path. For instance, in our initial discussions with members of the deaf community, our cultures are very different. What is acceptable in hearing culture and what's acceptable in a deaf culture are two different things. I'll share an example. I mentioned my sister Lisa. We grew up in a household together. I have many other siblings. We don't always speak sign language in the home. So she is able to read lips as well as sign. She is completely deaf, so she doesn't have hearing. In the work that she does on a day-to-day basis in the federal government, she's had many bosses over the years, over the course of 35 years, and is currently working with one that doesn't understand how to communicate with her. So sometimes they have mishaps when they're trying to speak to one another. So our intent is to work with employers to say, well, what are all the things that you would need to know and understand if you're going to hire someone in the deaf community? That might mean that you need to look at different technology. For instance, in this Zoom call, we have closed captioning available. How does one go about making sure that closed captions are available in a Zoom meeting of this nature? Do you always have to have an interpreter when you are speaking with a member of the deaf community? Are there things about the way that you should get a deaf person's attention? You might not want to bang on the table. You may want to tap them on the shoulder or make sure that you're speaking face to face when you're speaking with them. And as you integrate deaf members of the deaf community into your business, it might be helpful that someone on your team understands American Sign Language. And so where do you go find an American Sign Language class, and what other resources might be available? So those are things that we're building in partnership with the companies that we've started to talk to about working with us on DEAFCYBERCON. We know that roadmap is going to be very important to the success of both the members of the deaf community that are joining the cybersecurity workforce, as well as the companies who still have a mission that they need to achieve. So I am looking at another comment here. I'm looking forward to connecting more as the webinars continue. I'm excited for this opportunity and organization and what it can mean for me. Currently studying at RIT in a boot camp. That's amazing, Mel. Thank you for sharing that. And I see a couple of other comments about being happy to be here. I really encourage members of the deaf community to reach out to us. We are actively identifying internships and cybersecurity opportunities on a day-to-day basis. I think Crystal will probably tell you we have about 15 or so of them that are actively available now. The other thing that we're doing is sharing information about other events that are happening outside of us. So as there are cybersecurity conferences and opportunities for you to get training, get access to other resources, please make sure that you are letting us know. And for anyone that is a hiring manager, a diversity and inclusion manager, or a business owner, we really encourage you to think about this pool of resources as an untapped resource for you. When you think about academically and when you think about people's work ethic, there's nothing about hearing that makes your work ethic any better than it was when your parents taught it to you. So this is a great opportunity to try something new and really make a difference in the world. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to wrap us up. Oh, I can see another. I see a question from Jonathan. Is there a link to apply for the internships in the website? No, the internships are posted within our online community. So what you'll need to do, Jonathan, is to reach out to us. I'm going to put this email address in the chat here. You'll want to reach out to us at careers@xmehellomanagement.com, and we will get you connected to the online community so that you can create your profile and be able to look at those positions. We are actively working on defining those levels and aligning them with, there are some cybersecurity workforce standards that tell employers what the skill set is for each of the people that they hire. So we are aligning our DEAFCYBERCON levels with that workforce initiative, such that when a member of the deaf community posts their resume inside of DEAFCYBERCON, hiring managers or employers that are looking to hire them will have a sense of what their level of expertise is from a cybersecurity standpoint. You're welcome. Any other questions for us?
No, but I think this is great, Angela. No, this is Joe Lee, but I think this is great. I'm looking forward to working with you all and trying to push this initiative forward.
Perfect, thank you. All right, I see another question. I'm interested in applying for an apprenticeship. Are there any recommendations? I'm a deaf guy that just graduated from a cybersecurity boot camp. Timothy, please, if you have not already, make sure that you send us an email so that we can get connected with you. There are some apprenticeships that are available currently. There are also some internships that are available currently. And what we do is we partner with businesses. So we are speaking to business owners about the fact that you are a cybersecurity guy, that you've graduated from a boot camp and are looking for some work. And we're working to align internships and full-time and part-time positions for everyone. So make sure that you reach out to us and we'll get you connected so that you can start looking at them. Our team will help you to figure out which ones you might want to apply for, or you can apply for them all. It's really, the sky's the limit with respect to the opportunities that are available to you. And I see a couple of our folks that we've worked with, partners that we are engaging with. Thank you so much for joining us today and for your support for DEAFCYBERCON. We'll get information out to you about the next set of the next webinar in the series. So make sure that you watch your mail for that. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon.